I love talking about the 2-4 profile because it's my personal profile and I feel so close to it every single time I spend time on it, and I go a little bit deeper and deeper into understanding this profile. So for me, I love that I know this is like something I will be teaching a lot on, and I will be navigating all my 2-4 profiles through how to utilize this profile in the best way. So today we're going to explore our profile a little bit more, and so let's dive in. The 2-4 profile can look like two different people. So the 2-4 profile that you meet in the 4, that's in their opportunist, they're out and about, they're networking, they're exploring. That profile can look like the extrovert. They can look very sociable, and so they're very different than the 2-4 profile that you're living with. Because the 2-4 profile that you're living with within their home, they're in their 2. They're in their space. They want to hermit. They mostly want to be left alone at home after they've been out for social outings, or when they've socialed a lot. Like, they want their space. They need their space. And so it's like there's two different personalities to the 2-4 profile. And so in the comfort of their own time, they can get quite timid, and they can get quite agitated when people are disturbing them when they are engaged in their work, because that is the 2. The 2 likes to get focused, and gets very engaged in what they're busy with. So either that would be, you know, they would get quite moody when it comes to when they're in the office or they're in their living space engaged in their work. And so the 2 is also so close to the 1, so it's almost like it's that introspection that's also going on for the 2 profile. And so the 2-4 has it harder at times because they want to build that foundation in the 2, and then in the 4 they want to be out and about and take on all of these opportunities, and so then they want to bring back the opportunities, and they want the alone time to build the foundation. So let's talk a little bit about the different kinds of 2-4 profiles that you can have. And so the let's say, for instance, because the 2 is quite unconscious. So mostly we live in the 4, we live in the opportunist of the profile. But that's also depending on, like, if it's a defined G center or an undefined G center. So I found the 2-4 profile that has an undefined G center, for most of their life, they are searching for themselves in other people. So they're in the 4, they want to be between other people. They feel like they need to be between other people. And so they're not really spending enough time in their hermit to really discover who they are. And then when you have the defined G center with the 2-4 profile, they want to be on their own. They are living in solitude. Most of them live for hermit for most of their lives. They want to be on their own. They are one of those kids that sit in their room. They want to be left alone. They hermit quite a lot. Okay, so also the 4 line is a happy-go-lucky, um, ready to take on possible business opportunities, relationships, spiritual adventures, hobbies. This is especially true for those with the open G center again, as their identity can be influenced depending on the energies of the current transits and those around them. So the second line, on the other hand, is nearly at the opposite of the spectrum, opting to absorb experiences in solitude. I find um, so there is some people that feel pressured to live kind of like a 4-4. And how I can explain this is they want to maximize their opportunities, and they want to do it like possibly for their own benefit rather for mutual benefit and for other people and goals. So they have a hard time understanding the two-line aspect of the hermit. So they can be taking on projects to get recognition, and then they use their hermit for doing these things, these tasks, these opportunities. And so they're unconscious of their 4-line all throughout their entire profile. So they almost look like they're these hermits that's working, but they can be quite better. So let's talk about what causes the profile to do that. Um, and that would be like if the 2-4 profile has a defined or an undefined ego. So I have the undefined ego as well as the G center undefined. So this might the way my hermit and my 2-4 profile has interacted in the world is I feel the pressure to serve that's coming from the heart, the pressure to prove myself from that undefined heart. And then I have my undefined identity where I'm searching for my identity in other people. So I only feel like I know myself when I'm in the presence of a defined ego, because I just have the one channel, so I can at times feel defined. And I've felt that with people, how I get that definition from being in their presence. So constantly searching for my self in others, right? And then the pressure to prove myself. So that can lead to kind of a challenge at play. For instance, somebody with a splenic projector with only the spleen and the root centers defined and the 2-4 profile, and has an open ego center combined with a lack of awareness of their human design or anything about themselves, often leave them taking on too much or taking on more than they can chew, um, leaving them feeling exhausted and overworked and bitter for having taken on all of this work in the first place. And they continue to operate in this way. It forces them to have to live life as a hermit in their offices, sorting out all of their work um, for everybody around them. In the end, they're using their hermit not for its purpose, for what it's necessarily um, for, which is downtime. Instead, they're spending all of their time doing all these projects and tasks, taking on all that opportunity, and it's making them feel better, and they're feeling all the pressure to answer all the calls that's coming from the opportunist side and receive even more overload. And so they're just bitter and overworked. So then on the other hand, you have a profile, and that's a generator, and they have a defined ego center, heart center. Their will be set. They want their wants are set, their desires are set, even though they don't know how to get there. They use their 4-line to take up opportunities when they are aligned with their design. So they use their second line as the downtime, and when they work on their arts and redefine their skills that they require. So they don't bite off more than they can chew, And that in part may also have to do with the generative part of it. And so they don't put out more energy, or they don't put out as much energy as the splenic projector would. If it seems to you that I'm saying that a generated 2-4 with a defined ego has it easier than a projected 2-4 with an undefined ego, this may or may not be the case, depending on conditioning and other elements in their chart. So someone with an incarnation cross that has also the, like, it's part of their purpose to help people, and to make a difference in the world, they also, when they're not in alignment, can be taking on too much work, whichever way, because that would be that 2-4. Again, coming back to the 2-4 profile, once has that desire to make a change and a shift in the world. That's a part of their purpose as well. So the bitterness that a 2-4 profile can sometimes feel is a result of serving too much, and for their energy levels, because they need that hermit time. And so they're not taking enough time, as the 2-line is designed especially for them to do so. In other words, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and the best part of the human design is the ability to figure out what our calling is, what we're good at, and what is best left for others to do. So when we're talking about me as a manifesting generator 2-4 profile, and when I was unaware and I had the undefined identity, the undefined ego, and the undefined solar plexus, I was taking on too much, because I also, with that 2-4 profile, feel the responsibility to carry other people's emotions, and so I carry their emotional load for them. And so it all depends on how the profile functions. So for the reflector, they have the same thing, or the same problem, with all that openness of taking on too much. And that, I've seen, can cause a bitterness in a 2-4 profile, when we take on too much, or we try to be too much, and we overextend ourselves. So I hope you've enjoyed this little in-depth discussion on the 2-4 profiles. I'd love to hear in the comments how you have found your 2-4 profile.